Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today we got some news about the first Descendant that I am pretty excited about overall. It really feels like the development team is listening to player feedback and making improvements on the way to full launch this summer, which is the foundation for any live service looter shooter type game, and I'm really glad to see it. Now, this game is not going to be for everyone, and that is completely fair. Some people might not enjoy the gameplay or the story or whatever the case may be, but as long as they make the best game for its players and try to continue to add things over the course of time and continue to improve upon the game, I think we are going to be in a great spot. And it really does remind me of Warframe in that aspect, which had a nice foundation and built upon that over time. So hopefully the first Descendant follows in the same vein. Now, as far as the information we got today, we are getting dungeons, and not only that, a variety of different ways to tackle the dungeons as well. You can play them single or co-op with varying difficulty levels. Not only will it be more or less difficult depending on how many players you have in the dungeon, but also you can select easy or hard mode on the dungeon, as well as adding different modifiers such as reduced HP, increased enemy damage, and that kind of stuff, which I think could add a lot of variety and test a lot of your builds to add to the endgame content that we already have. And that's absolutely massive. We need variety of endgame content. And the best part is that the more modifiers, the harder the activity, the better the reward should be, which is vital to having a interesting end game, in my opinion. You need variety of content as well as variety of rewards. So now we'll have the hard dungeons, and hopefully they are difficult, and then we'll also have those big boss fights that I think are a lot of fun. In the dungeons, you'll also find traps and also some hidden mechanics, which could be interesting, especially if you have certain characters who can tackle those traps in unique or interesting ways and really flip the meta from just like the power DPS type characters. So we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out, but I do look forward to seeing how that works overall. There's also some matchmaking system improvements, so you can have a private option, so that way if you're playing solo or with a single friend, you can make sure you don't have randoms jumping into your game all the time, which is a pretty essential function in my opinion, and something that they absolutely needed to have prior to full launch, but I'm glad to see that they've made that change. Moving on, they also made some UX improvements, which I think look pretty good overall. It looks a lot cleaner as a overall game from what we've seen in the screenshots. We'll have to see how it plays out once you get hands-on, but it did feel like there was a lot of clutter previously, so I'm looking forward to getting hands-on with the next beta and seeing if that is actually true, and it does really feel like all of these changes have added up to be a significant difference, so that's something that we'll have to wait and see. We also got new content with special operation research blocking. Essentially, you have to track down these researchers and stop them from committing these insane tests on different monsters and everything like that. So that's an interesting way to approach the new special operations. Hopefully it provides a different type of gameplay experience, but again, remains to be seen. I don't know how different that's going to feel. I know a big part of the problem with the previous betas is a lot of people were saying that the game felt like it played the same no matter what you were doing, and hopefully that is no longer the case, because again, with these looter shooters, with live service games, having that variety, having those things feel different in some way, shape, or form is absolutely vital, because it is easy to fall into a routine and get bored because everything feels very samey. Now, as far as the new missions go, hopefully they not only add this one, but they continue to add differing missions as time goes on as well, so that way every time you tackle one, it feels like you're doing something different. One of the major problems that I had this season of season 1 of the Suicide Squad game is a lot of the missions, even though they were technically different, they didn't feel drastically different. And that's something that's hard to pull off, but I hope that we do see it with the first Descendant, because that's the only way people are going to keep coming back long term. They're also adding achievements and titles, as one would expect, heading into full launch. That is something that almost feels mandatory in video games these days, so I'm really thankful for that. But I do like the fact that we will be getting in-game titles to show off. Hopefully that coincides with beating hard mode bosses and hard mode dungeons, so that way you can flex when you've beaten something that maybe not a lot of other players have. Finally, we are getting what's called the laboratory. This is going to be the first Descendants version of a firing range where you can test out different characters, different equipment, your builds, to really see how it all synergizes. And I think that's very, very important, because it allows the testing in a way that you can compare things that are difficult to do when you're in combat, and then you can maybe find some combinations that work really, really well that you might not have been expecting. Whether that actually is as effective as I hope it is remains to be seen, but you can summon monsters to verify results and see, especially against different enemy types with different weak points, how it all shakes out overall. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think that is a vital feature of any live service game where you're working on builds and trying to make the best character possible. So I really look forward to that. Overall, these are all positive changes. The dungeons are the only thing that I think could possibly really shake up the game and make things super interesting. But everything else is solid quality of life changes, and if you continue to add those up, as we've seen from the previous dev blogs, that they continue to add new, better improvements, that is a good thing and will hopefully just lead to a better overall all-around game. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you want to see more of the first Descendant content from me going forward, definitely subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.